The wolf pack is back, but this time they aren't hungover. Instead, they find themselves kidnapped, blackmailed, and threatened by a seedy criminal to find Mr. Chow and the millions of dollars he stole. The gang eventually finds themselves in all sorts of trouble as they hunt down Chow across the border into Tijuana and then eventually back to where everything began, Las Vegas. Brian, did you want to start us out on this? Because only just heads up, Brian and I are the only two that are going to be talking about this. We are the only two on here that saw this week. So,
okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
So, let me give you a brief history of my Hangover life. Not sure if that sounds good, but you understand what I'm talking about. So I saw Hangover 1 after people have constantly said it was one of the funniest movies ever made. And, of course, it wasn't. I thought there were some funny parts in it, but not all that great of a movie. Just saw Hangover Part 2 3 days ago and was actually pretty surprised because most of the people that saw that movie told me it wasn't as good as the first one. And I don't know if it's because I didn't know what to expect or maybe I thought it was going to be poor and it was actually funny. But that movie really surprised me. So then I moved in today and saw The Hangover Part 3. And so my thoughts on The Hangover Part 3, by the way, the crowd in the theater was definitely pro Hangover. The type of people that see the trailer over and over again and still laugh hysterically like it was the first time they ever seen it. That type of crowd. Even we had a guy who, every time Chow said something, he did the Chow impersonation.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
Until
boy.
toward the end of the movie, his friend said, "Shut the hell up."
Was there applause in the theater?
No. I'm not sure how anybody else didn't hear it, but we definitely could since we were right in front of him. So Hangover Part 3, the soundtrack is good. I thought the music selection was excellent.
I would agree with that. Actually, it was a really good music selection in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the one thing that could always kill a comedy is when the majority of the funny moments are in the trailer. They kind of elaborate a little bit more on some of the jokes that you do see in the trailer, but you pretty much see everything in the trailer. There's some things missing, but it's there. To me, it basically turned into a franchise where basically Alan and Mr. Chow are the main characters of the movie instead of the group. Kind of seemed like Bradley Cooper's character and the others kind of don't know their names. I think that one guy has somehow avoided being in the majority of these movies, even though he's in it in some way.
Oh yeah, the guy that always gets either like he gets knocked out or hidden or kidnapped or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like he doesn't really want to be there, but it has to be because he was in Part 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now it seems like, unlike the second one, it seems like Bradley Cooper and the guy from The Office are pretty much just window dressing. They don't really do much. They're just there to kind of talk to Alan and Chow on occasion.
So it focuses on the two over-the-top characters.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Which kind of reminds me of the whole Cars 2 situation, right, Dave? Where they didn't really focus on Lightning McQueen.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And like Dave said, this is a hangover movie without being hungover. And the worst part about this movie, and I don't know how much we want to elaborate on it, but honestly, the best part of the movie, and this tells you what I think about the movie, the best part of this movie is what happens during the credits.
Yeah.
The best part. And that, as
the first movie was like that too, though.
What was that?
The first movie was like that too.
This is different. This doesn't have that scene where they show all the photos of everything that happened to him because we actually get to see everything that happens to him in real time. So it's a different kind of ending.
It basically becomes a hangover movie at the end.
Yeah.
And to me, that was the movie I wanted to see. I didn't care about this crap that I just saw for an hour and a half. I wanted to see what happens with that. And it's over.
That's the consensus I've heard from everybody that's seen that movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't read it or listened to any reviews, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really laughing hard during that scene, and maybe because none of it's in the trailer either, so I was not really expecting it.
Given what's in that scene, there's no way they could put that in the trailer.
That's true. Yeah. So honestly, it's definitely not a must to see in the theater. If you can see it for free on TV or on Netflix or whatever have you, go for that. It is by far the worst of the franchise, and unfortunately, they're probably going to make a sequel based off what ends up here. I'm guessing they could force it if they wanted to.
I don't think it's going to happen with how little money this movie made. I think
And I thought this was supposed to be the end.
yeah, it kind of was until that scene that Brian
Yeah.
mentioned.
So, okay,
Yeah.
that's it. Thank God, maybe the series is over. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a spin-off with the characters they really care about now, anyways.
The Adventures of Alan and Mr. Chow.
Yeah,
That's I don't.
I
need
can
to
see that happening.
All
right, Dave,
okay,
your turn.
Yeah, my thoughts on this. It's going to mirror a lot of what Brian said. I also did not care for the first film. I was kind of late to the party on that one. I had already heard everybody also clamoring about how amazing it was, and I just didn't find it all that funny. I thought that
I just want to jump in here because I actually saw the film the same way. I saw it on DVD after all the accolades and stuff. And yeah, I'm wondering how all three of us did not see this initially when it first came out.
None of the actors were all that appealing to me at the time, I guess, and I don't know.
When I saw it, I felt like it was supposed to be old school too, and like maybe they couldn't get the original actors for old school because it seemed just like kind of a rip off of that buddy comedy thing.
It seemed like a really cheap comedy to me. I don't know. It just didn't seem like anything all that special. What I think is the reason why I never went out and saw it.
And I found it amusing, but I mean, it wasn't phenomenal. And it certainly, once I started hearing people say that part two is just the same thing all over again, that's why I had no interest in seeing part two. And I'm not caught up enough to see part three right now.
Yeah, my thoughts kind of mirror that as well. It's like when I heard people said part two was not as good as the first one, I was like, wow, I didn't like the first one, so how the hell would I like this one? But I also had the same reaction Brian did, which was I watched the second one in preparation for this one and for the third film, and I actually think the second one was a better film than the first one. I don't know. I think for me it was the location that they were in Bangkok, and I don't know. I think, and it was also a lot darker film. Like had a darker tone to it. And
it was The Empire Strikes Back.
It was the Empire Strikes Back of the series. That's fantastic. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was also extremely lowered expectations. That could have also played into it. But yeah, I enjoyed it, I guess. I laughed at that one more than I did the first one. But I was surprised to find out for the third film, as we've already mentioned, and is already well known out there now, that they ditched the whole hangover gimmick, which was the main thing that this series was known for. And I think that's most likely what killed this. I mean, they could have made another Hangover movie like the first and second one, and they probably would have brought in a lot more money than they probably did. And I think a lot of those poor reviews on Rotten Tomatoes is also indicative of the fact that they ditched their gimmick and tried to make something different. Now, I'm all for filmmakers when they make sequels to try something different instead of just regurgitating the same crap over and over again. And I think that is why I actually kind of like this third film a little bit better than both of the first two.
Let me ask you this. Do you think there's an issue with the title being The Hangover?
Yes.
Like if it was called something else and the first two movies had to do with hangovers, but, that's not the name of the movie, do you think it would have been better received?
Probably, but I can't think of what they would call this other than generic buddy comedy.
How about Hangover 3, but not really?
I kind of viewed this movie as kind of strange. I kind of viewed this movie as we actually got to see the stuff that was happening to them in real time. Like I could almost picture if they wanted to, they could have done the Hangover gimmick with what we saw and we could have learned about all this stuff as we did in the other films in the same manner. But instead, they chose to show us everything instead of having us find out about it the next day when they wake up. And I think that's where the disconnect is for a lot of people with this film, where they didn't want that because it feels a little bit more standard, a little bit more normal because of that. And also, a big detractor for me was the fact that the two main characters were Alan and Mr. Chow. Now, Zach Galifianakis, I'm not the hugest fan of that guy. He's the way he just acts weird. I'm supposed to laugh just because he's acting weird. I just sit there stone faced most of the time with his antics. And Ken Jeong as Mr. Chow, the first two films, he was the most annoying character for me. And I actually think he was a little bit more enjoyable in this one. And I can't really put my finger on it other than the fact that he's always been the villain of the series. But I think they did a good job of making him really kind of a little bit more evil this time than he has been in the past. So they made a good villain out of him. And I also thought John Goodman's in this for a limited extent. And I think he did a really good job in this also.
Yeah.
But that also, the story that they concoct for this movie is so cookie cutter. None of it has any real ties to any of the other films, other than the characters knowing each other. It's like, oh, this guy stole our gold, we want it back. Well, there's been no mention of people stealing gold in any of the other movies. John Goodman's character was never in any of the other movies.
And that's kind of a surprise to me because when I saw the trailer, I figured that is something that happened in part 2, and now you're seeing the repercussions of it.
No,
He talks about it, but you never really saw it before.
Yeah.
He talked about the repercussions of what happened in part 1.
It really reeks of a studio just searching for a way to continue making more movies with these characters. It wasn't inspired in the least. But all that aside, I still kind of enjoyed this film while I watched it. I think it was a brave choice to make it different than the other films, and I appreciated that. For what it's worth, the character of Alan, he actually has a character arc in this film, which I found surprising. So I don't know. I enjoyed it for what it was. I definitely didn't have the affinity towards the series like other people did, so that probably played into why I didn't find it such a huge, horrible decision to change the formula up like they did. But I also agree with Brian that the best part of this movie is the end credits, without a doubt. It's also the funniest part. Because even though this is labeled as a comedy, there's not very much comedy in this movie.
Or the comedy that's in there is in the trailer.
Yeah, that too. So I would suggest if you're a Hangover fan, I would suggest seeing it in the theater. Other than that, if you've never been a fan of the series, just avoid it completely. You won't get much more out of it. So,
should we do a wolf pack on the show, James? Can you wolf pack? Try a wolf pack to the other channel.
That is awesome. I feel sorry for anybody out there that doesn't have the video feed.
There's a time delay. I'm trying to do.
Yeah, that's okay. It's probably past.
But put it back up.
Come on, James.
I told you there's a time delay.
That's all right.
Put it up. Yours up.
It's up.
I don't even see it.
Oh, he's on the other side.
Yeah.
Jeez. No, he's putting it. Put your hand next to his hand.
This is great.
Oh, because you flipped the video, dumbass. This is you.
Oh, down.
Down.
Down. Down. There we go.
Down.
Oh, you almost had it. Down.
James, down.
Yeah, James down.
All the way down, James.
This has got to be edited out.
Never mind, it's over now.
Well,